The GPO General Post Office is a fine example of neoclassic Georgian architecture in the heart of the city of Dublin, dating back to the beginning of the 19th century. But it is not only a beautiful building, as it is the central shrine of the history of Ireland, namely the Easter 1916 Rising, of which this year Ireland commemorates the centenary. For this reason, this imposing building holds a place of particular symbolic importance for the Irish people. It was the headquarters of the men and women who took part in the historical rebellion which, although it ended in failure, with most Irish people lamenting the death and destruction caused, it led to Irish independence and the creation of the new state. Mr. Ferguson, you are the Assistant Secretary of the GPO for many years, so there must be some feeling to work in a historical place like this. Can you tell us the GPO? What was the role of GPO during the 1916 rebellion?
Yeah, it's a great building to work in because of its historical connection. It's a fine classical building, a lovely post office, but also an iconic building for Irish people throughout the world. And the reason for that is because of the events that happened here in 1916. So when it was Easter, it was the 24th of April that year. Easter was quite late, and it was a nice sunny day, and the people who wanted a rebellion in Ireland, they had met a little way down the road. They came up to the post office and they entered the post office and took it over on Easter Monday morning. And lots of people forget that the post office was open. It never closed in those days. And the reason it never closed was really because of this little bit of equipment. So you see this here. This is a Morse code telegraph.
That's right.
And the main
Marconi,
your
That's right.
compatriot, Marconi, of course, had very important connections with Ireland through his mother and his wife, and experiments here in Ireland. So the GPO was the place where the telegraph got information to business and people and government, and that was the fastest way. There were telephones, but telephones were really only for very wealthy people. They weren't common at all.
Right.
So this was why the GPO was open, and I think that's why the rebels in 1916 wanted to control communications.
Exactly.
And they wanted to control and broadcast their own message. So that's why the GPO is very important.
In fact, talking about the history of Marconi and his links with Ireland and Dublin, it is said that, in fact, through this apparel here, the first ever call to arms was sent from this GPO.
Yes.
To recruit people, correct?
That happened. The sequence of events is a little bit complicated to establish definitively. The telegraph lines into the GPO were cut by some post office staff who were sympathetic to the rebels' cause.
Yes.
And their colleagues then spent the next few days trying to put all the wires back together again. So a message was sent from the GPO, but I think the wires were cut at that stage.
Oh, right.
There was a radio transmitter across the street here, opposite the GPO, a broadcasting radio school.
Yeah.
And some of the rebels climbed up to the top of that building and they tried to get a message sent out there.
Yeah.
But I think the actual message that went out to the world and went out to America, I think it went out from Valentia in County Kerry through the telegraph station there. That's where I think it went from.
No part of this historical building has been preserved as it was 100 years ago.
No, it's the building was completely destroyed.
Oh. During the rebellion?
During the rebellion, the first few days were quiet, and then the government and the army, they got organised and they brought up big guns, and there was a ship on the river, and through fire and shelling,
Right.
the whole of the GPO was destroyed. The roof was completely destroyed, it fell down, everything was burnt and destroyed. So, and then the building lay empty for 10 years, because in Ireland there was the War of Independence, then there was the Civil War, there was no money, and people didn't know what to do.
Yes.
But then in the late 1920s, the government decided to rebuild this building. So everything is new except for the front. The front of the building with the pediment and the portico and the pillars, that's all the original 1814 building.
I believe there are still the bullet holes in the pillars
yes.
of the GPO.
Yeah, the bullet holes, people, every day people come to see the bullet holes. And especially this year. Photograph the bullet holes, and some of the holes are bullet holes, some of them are not bullet holes, some of them are just ordinary drill holes. But people like to see what they want to see, and they're happy to come along, and there's certainly damage to the masonry and the stonework, all from the troubles in 1916. So yes, people see that, and it's very important for people to have it in their mind. To connect, exactly.
With this historical event. And tell me, are the GPO doing something, organizing some exhibition for the occasion?
Yes.
For Easter week?
Yes,
Sunday?
We've had plans the past 3 years. We've been working on building a new structure, and that's been a difficult job, because the building, there are preservation orders on the building as it stands. But within a courtyard, we have built a new building, and with some help from the government, money as well. There's a new visitor centre. So people will come in through the main post office, they'll go down the stairs, and there'll be an exhibition about 1916.
And that will be permanent?
That will be permanent.
So people
can come and visit. It's going to be run by another company, not by the post office, because we feel we don't have expertise in running these sort of things. So it'll be open to people to come, and the idea was that we would present the facts as far as possible, and then let people interpret themselves, because the history is still complicated and sensitive in some way.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.